All right, we're recording now, so we're good. Welcome, guys. It's my favorite night of the week. It's the night that we get to expand our healthy mind and get to dive into the education part of our program. We're in a little bit of a 6 week, or we're in a little bit more than 6 weeks stint of just going into the basics of learning different aspects about our business, how to help people, the simple systems, and the different traits that help us not only grow this business, but come alongside people and improve their lives, improve their health, and help them move forward. So tonight is one of my most ultimate favorite topics of all time. And I remember the first time I learned it was like mind blow because I always thought that people just automatically thought the way I thought. So tonight we're learning about the platinum rule and behavioral styles. It's actually going to be a short review of it as the training. I've done trainings on this that have gone like 20 minutes. I've been a part of trainings that have gone 4 hours on this. So you can cover the basics pretty quickly. The rest is just a lot of exercising it, practicing it, learning, paying attention, seeing your favorite people and what you yourself kind of fall into and what those around you fall into. So it actually makes life a lot more fun. It makes your relationships a lot more what do I say? They blossom a lot more, and you help people make much more breakthroughs when you connect on the platinum rule. So let's review the platinum rule real quick. So the platinum rule, as opposed to the golden rule, is a little different. The golden rule states that we want to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Simple enough, right? We all heard it growing up. That's always what we said. Your parents probably said it to you multiple times. Do treat others the way you would want to be treated, and hope that others treat you the way you want to be treated. And that's all well and good because we all have good intentions, but really the platinum rule is that you want to do unto others the way they want to do unto them, and hopefully that others will do unto you the way you want them to do unto you, because we all have different languages that we speak and behavioral styles. And that's what we're going to review here tonight and go over it. Hopefully most of you guys, for the first time, I know many of you guys have actually done this before, and it's a great review, whether you've done it before or it's your first time. But there is a test, the DISC test that we posted in the group pages. And if you didn't have time to do this tonight, it's not a big deal. You'll still get plenty from this training, but then you can go back and take the test, and you'll learn more about yourself. If you did take the test, great. You're going to probably, and if it was for the first time, you're going to be figuring out exactly what all this means. And we're going to go into that here in a second. So what are behavioral styles? There's 4 main areas, and there's a bunch of different ways, and there's actually a bunch of different tests. There's different iterations of behavioral style tests, but the main one we use is the DISC test, and that's what I've always used, and I found it very helpful with communicating with others. And there's 4 main styles that it breaks down to. There's competitor or dominant for D. I is enthusiast or influencer. We're going to go into all of these, kind of break them down here in a second. There's S, which is friend or support. And there's C, which is analytical or concise. And these are the 4 main areas that we generally fall into. And generally, most every single person has a top 2 that they have. They have their primary and their secondary. Like for instance, I myself is a DC, so I'm a competitor, analytical. So my first and foremost is I'm a D. I'm very driver. I'm competitive. There's other traits that go along with that we're going to cover in a second. And my secondary is I'm very analytical. So I like the facts. I like a lot of different things. I like to be broken down. I don't like to be rushed. I like to figure it out for myself. And that's myself. My wife, by the way, you're never usually married to the same thing you are. It's just kind of how it works out. My wife is an ID. So she is she's an influencer, enthusiast. She likes things fun. She's attractive personality. She just likes to have a good time. Not necessarily very organized, which actually is kind of organized for an I. And she's also, her secondary is a D, so she's also competitive. So what you can also see here is I'm actually going to turn this part over of breaking down what these are all about to the wonderful Lori Dufresne. Lori, are you there?
Yeah, I am. Can you hear me?
There you are. So I got your slide here, and I got the next slide about to come. But on the right-hand side here, you see the different kind of breakdowns. Do you want to start going into all of this and kind of explaining task focused, people focused, and kind of the breakdown of the DICS?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for having me. This is one of my very favorite topics of all time, so I just love it. Okay, so this is really fun, you guys, because it's almost like a little game you can kind of play with yourself to just kind of build that relationship with people and just really find out. Like, I always like to just try to figure it out while I'm first talking to them, and once you get really good at it, you can probably pretty much pick out the things that make them stand out within the first couple of minutes of talking to somebody. So some things that are gonna kind of stand out for a D. They're usually very competitive. They're fast-paced, they're results-driven, very direct and confident, and task-oriented. People that you might know in this group are Brad Miller and Dr. Anderson. Moving on to the I's, those are the enthusiasts. They are very enthusiastic, they're friendly, optimistic, they speak very fast-paced. I'm an I. They're people-oriented, and they're very good communicators and always very smiley. In the S category, friend, they're very people-oriented. They talk a little slower paced. They're patient, very calming, good listeners, and they show lots of love. And then in the C category, the analysts, they're slower paced, they're task-oriented, they're accurate, precise, they pay attention to details and rules. And Dan Bell is a good example of that. So I've asked some of my coaches tonight to participate in this exercise to kind of share a little bit about their behavioral style and then what's important to them and maybe an example so that you could all see kind of an example of what this type of a person, like what motivates them and drives them. And so when you're talking to them as a coach or as a client, that you can kind of best relate to whatever their needs are and what they are, how they are spoken to the best. So my first one is going to be Jeanette. So Jeanette, if you can unmute yourself. Are you there?
Hold on, I'll unmute her just in case.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh, okay. I do not know how to work this thing. I'm very sorry. Okay.
Okay, so Jeanette, if you want to just explain what group you're in and then share a little bit about what you prefer and like what's important to you.
Okay. I am a D person and my secondary is an I. And so I definitely prefer task-oriented things. I definitely cut to the chase. I'm very direct and don't really like a lot of teeter-totter seesaw. So I guess I have to share an example of an experience that I had and in order to relate this to everybody, like going on program at first was very difficult for me because I found it hard to have a specific program tell me exactly how to do things. So like, you eat every 3 hours, this is what you eat. And I thought that I didn't really have any choices in the matter. But the more that I, learned about the program, the more that I learned how to involve it in my life, I realized, okay, I can take control of this. I have control of my life. And I felt a lot better and more successful at it. So that's sort of how I approached the program. And I guess that's it. I don't know if there's anything else that I needed to share about my personality or traits.
That was awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
When you guys are talking to somebody in this personality type, it just might be good to allow them to kind of take control of it and meet them with where they're at, because not everybody, it took her a while to for us to get to that point where I was like, wait, you know what? It doesn't have to look like the 5-in-1 for you. And then it kind of opened up a whole new world of opportunities to her, and she just did great. So we found a good fit for her, and it worked really well. So thank you so much for that. And then the next one is going to be our example of an I, and my I could not show up, so I'm going to talk about that today for me. Because I am a very, very high I. I definitely prefer relationships as opposed to tasks. And what's important to me is it has to be fun. I love inspiring things. I love to be accepted and to have approval. I love parties. I love talking fast. I get excited. An example I wanted to use is Brad can attest to this, getting started in my business, when Brad's coming, sitting down and we're trying to work on business planning and things, talking about goal setting is something that is not good for me. And I kind of shut down. So Brad learned very early on what language I speak, and that is about changing people's lives. And so once he understood that about me, we were able to really connect, so that when he's mentoring me, we're talking about how many lives we're going to change, and that really motivates me and drives me. So that's a little bit about the I personality type. And another thing too is working with Ashley as well. She had mentioned to me one time about me and are you having fun in your business? Are you making it fun? And when she said that, for me, it really clicked. And I realized, oh my gosh, I could really have fun with this if I tried. And that was like a big changer for me as well too, because I do love fun. And not making it seem like it's a task, like it's work, but actually that I'm just enjoying the process of it. So the next personality type is going to be S for friend. And I'm going to have Lindsay come on. If you could unmute yourself, Lindsay.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Okay. Yes, I'm an S. I prefer relationship. And what's important to me is trust, support, loyalty, dependability, and security. As opposed to D, I wanted to be told what to do, and I am going to follow those directions to a T. So one of the best benefits of the program for me was feeling like I'm a part of a team and having a health coach walk alongside of me, knowing I'm not alone through the journey and that others have and are going to go through the same thing that I've gone through or am going through. And I really love that we are truly a family, because family means everything to me. So.
That's awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much, Lindsay. I appreciate that.
Sure.
And the next category is going to be the C's, the analysts. And Lem, if you can unmute yourself and share a little bit about your personality type.
Oh, hi. Yeah, so I did the test and I found out that I was a C, which means I am the analyst, and makes me feel really cool because, I don't consider myself an analytical person, but actually after looking through some of these points, I kind of saw I did see myself in them. And I am task-oriented, and that means I'm a rule follower. And that was something that was really, really evident when I did the program. I actually felt very, very comfortable doing the program because for me, the rules were all there and all I had to do was just follow it. I had to measure all my portions and all I had to do was do that. And I knew that I'd be successful, and I felt very comfortable within the bounds of those rules. And but one thing I did learn was that as a health coach, not everybody follows rules. And that's a huge, that was probably a huge revelation to me, because then I noticed that I couldn't really apply the same standards I had to myself, which is the rule following, to my clients. And one funny example that I had when I was still using when I was still on program was I went on vacation. I think it was just the very, very first trip I had right after I completed this. And I'll say that the biggest difficulty I had was during maintenance, because the rules were gone and I had trouble thinking out of the box and thinking for myself without that. And but yeah, I was on a trip, and I actually called Lori up and I was like, Lori, I don't have my measuring cups with me. I don't have my measuring spoons. This is driving me nuts. And so she had to talk me down the ledge, and she's like, you're fine. Don't worry. It's not a big deal. Just eyeball it. But I'm sure there's other people out there like me. And yeah, and I'm still learning. I'm still looking for that person.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Lam. I appreciate it. Back to you, Brad.
Awesome. Thank you. And great job. All the the examples that we had there, you know what? So we're continuing to learn about this. And the way I love doing this is that's actually the same example. We had people kind of come up and kind of explain what they are. And again, remember that we're two primary generally. So most people kind of led with what they were primarily, and they have a secondary to what they are. Another cool way that you can kind of I address this is by people's dress as well. So you'll notice that D's are kind of middle of the road. They are kind of like put together. They're kind of more professional, crisp. I's, especially for women, you're going to see a lot of sparkles. You're going to see a lot of flair. Anyone who knows Nancy Pettit on this line, the person that's basically responsible for all of us getting healthy, she likes leopard print. And you can tell that she's an I because she loves leopard print. She loves sparkles. She loves anything cool, fun, and in between. So that's a good way to spot an I. S's are usually a little bit more traditional, a little bit more reserved in their dress, a little bit more conservative. So that's a good way to point that out. So that's a good way to pick that out. C's traditionally, you know, again, just dress. It's not, again, these aren't all absolute, but C's are people that, you know, they will wear the same pair of Levi's jeans until they can't wear them anymore because they don't really care about that kind of stuff. So you can start to pick out dress, the way that their appearances are. You know, it's just a good way to just identify who you're talking to. And see, you know, and match those different things. Kind of like Len was like, I didn't really realize that I was like that way, but now I guess I kind of am. And Dawn's going to get to this in a second, but there's really not a bad thing about behavioral styles. It's just understanding the way that you communicate and what works best for you, and addressing what best way to communicate with those around you. Because again, it's the platinum rule. Because you know, one thing that Dr. A and Dan hit on really heavily at our last big leadership training at Sundance was communication. And communication is the result you get from an interaction with somebody. It's not the word you speak. So it's the result you get from the communication. And when you understand behavioral styles, you're able to better communicate with the person in front of you and thus get a better result of what you ideally want to have be the case. So just continuing to know a little bit more about this, I'm just going to go down the line here real quick. I'm going back to the D category. Lori hit on that perfectly. You can kind of see here some of the greatest strengths, you know, like a D is self-confident, independent, decisive. They like action, just kind of like Jeanette was talking about. She likes facts. She likes them now. She doesn't want to talk about anything in between. So other things, since I'm a D, I can say this, you know, we're impatient, we're stubborn, and we're blunt sometimes. Communication, one way, we like to talk the bottom line. We like to talk brass tacks. And, you know, fears are things like being taken advantage of. And going down the line, you know, like, you know, some you know, biggest views money as power, under pressure, they're demanding. So like you can kind of start to understand why people might act this way. To recharge, they like physical activity. Their greatest needs are choices and direct answers and those things of that sort. Eyes, they're fast paced, you know, people, they're just go, go, go. You know, some downfalls of an eye might be that they're not very organized. They might have trouble balancing their checkbook or keeping their finances in order. They're probably, like, you can probably tell where an eye has been if you're at their house because there's a trail of all their stuff they're leaving behind them. So that's typical, some traits of some of the eyes. They just, eyes like that just not have to have constraints on them. They like freedom. Money doesn't necessarily mean a lot to them, but they want what money brings to them. So when you're talking to someone who's an eye about the benefits of becoming a health coach, you talk to them about how much fun we have. You talk about the lives we change, kind of like Lori was talking about. You talk about the freedom you can create. S's, some other additional things there. You know, Lori hit on all those again, really great. But they're going to be more passive. They're going to be more amiable. And, you know, things that are important to S's, like that Lindsay hit on, is family is extremely important. Relationships are. Being able to serve others. You know, I watched an example today. An S is the kind of person when you're in school that when you bring a pen to class, you bring 4 pens to class for everyone else, and you write a note on the pens that say you are special so that everyone you lend a pen to feels special and you feel good about it. Your love language is appreciation. Under pressure, you comply, you tolerate, you acquiesce. You view money as showing love, so lots of gifts from an S person. And to recharge, you just need nothing time. So those are some things about S's. And then C's right there, those are the people, you know, if you've ever had a person that's like, I want all the facts, I want nothing but the facts, and then I want to go away with my facts, and I want to learn about these facts for 10 days. That's your C. They are extremely organized. They want facts. They might be a little bit abrasive when they're trying to figure things out because they've got all this internal dialogue going on in their head. Their love language is affirmation. Fear is irritation and acts of criticism. They view money as security. So again, that's just kind of understanding how they view money. Decision making, they're reluctant. They need a lot of information. And to recharge, they want private time. They're the people that want to be out by themselves and they want to be recharged by themselves. So those are just some basics of the DISC. And the one thing I do want to point out is that it's not equal across the board. This is kind of a rough template. So if you have someone that doesn't necessarily fit 100% of the mold, that doesn't mean they're not what they are. It means that you have to just kind of go understand who that person is and where they're coming from and why they might do the things they do, which I found extremely interesting with people because I love to help people move forward. And the more I found that I've helped or I've understood what the person in front of me is wanting and how they speak, and I guess another way to say it would be their love language, is it helps me move them forward. So for those that have taken the test, and it sounds like most of you have here tonight, you probably wondered what all those boxes were on that paper you had here. So I'm going to go over this real quick. So just in case and just to kind of review, is these numbers on the left-hand side, they don't really matter. They're just there as an overall. When you're plotting your numbers here that you did during your test, you want to actually go on the number that you had on the actual letter. So if you were a 10, you're right here for a D. But how this breaks down is what you work for your most, this category right here at the top, that's how you ideally feel that you want others to see you as. So in your perfect scenario, that's how you want people to view you and your importance level. So that's what that graph means. The one over here, the least, that's what it means when you're under stress. So like, for instance, for me, I'm a high D and then C. And then I'm kind of middle of the road for my I and my S. Under pressure, I go extremely high S. Like I need my family, I need love, I need attention. That's just me under stress. My D kind of goes a little bit, stays about the same. My C goes way down, my I goes down, and I just basically want to be surrounded by family and friends. So, and kind of understand how people interact under stress, how you interact under stress. And then there's your overall, which is basically who you are in general, and that basically how that gets laid out there. So we're going to finish it up here with kind of a rough review of how to work with different behavioral styles and so with that, I'm actually going to turn it over to Dawn Chow. Dawn, are you with us?
I am, Brad.
Oh, there you are. There you go. Go for it.
Awesome. Brad, can you do me a favor and go back to the slide that has the love languages on it? I just want to have that up thanks. So I absolutely, you guys, love this topic. I cannot even explain. I remember when I was introduced to this, and we've all probably taken behavioral tests in the past, but for some reason this DISC behavioral style clicked with me. And when I understood kind of my tendencies, it just made sense. And can you see how this really would complement your business, you guys? Like absolutely free us to not take things personally, but to rather really embrace others and really understand where they're coming from. So whether we're working with our clients, our coaches, our spouses, I mean, and our friends and our mentors, I mean, it makes so much sense. I then understood where Brad was coming from, and I understood where my husband was coming from more, and I could really, like Lori was saying, you can pick it out. I mean, just the tendencies that someone might have in the first couple minutes of a conversation. So if what we do is really help guide people, help awaken people to what they want most, having an idea of where they might fall on this is just a huge asset for us, because we can actually understand and help guide them, and we can understand maybe what even their love language is. So when that became apparent to me, it just kind of flipped a switch in our business and in our lives, and it became so much easier to work with people and really not take it personally. So I personally am a mix between a D, I with a little bit of S sprinkled in, and I may have some analytic tendencies, but I'm the most disorganized analytic on the face of the earth if I do. I mean, organization is not my strong point. You know, relationships are what really, get me out of bed and make my, feet hit the floor running in the morning. And so building those relationships and really understanding where others are coming from. So one of the things that I think is great here is, Brad, if you can move it up just a little bit so I can see the top. But so for your D personality styles, right? So those are the, Brad has D, I have D, Dr. A has D. So many of us have a little component of that because we love results. We want to make a difference. And if you understand the love language of admiration and you can key in with that, even on your with your coaches as you're training and you're just really building them up, you're using it as a way to affirm someone's strengths and also in our own strengths. So, as Brad was saying, there is no perfect personality style for Take Shape. Every single personality style is successful in Take Shape for Life. Every single personality style has such amazing benefits and such just wonderful things about them. And understanding each personality style can just make us more effective. So for example, when you're chatting with a D and you're really working with someone like that and they're fast paced and, they're not really, maybe you're wanting to, dream weave with them, right? I was just talking to a coach earlier today who was talking with a potential client who was a D. It was very apparent that this person wanted details. They wanted they didn't want a lot of, or they didn't want details. They just really wanted the basics. They wanted to know what they could do now. And this person was like, well, what would it feel like when? And they were like, it didn't really connect, right? So you can really like put a mirror up when you're talking with a coach or a pre-client or anyone in your life and really mirror their behavioral style, mirror their communication style. So if someone is wanting, you can kind of pick out what would be the best way to communicate with them and really be the best way to inspire them and encourage them to move forward. So I guess I just wanted to kind of tie a bow around it and be like, embrace the style that you are. It can change, by the way, as you grow, and we all grow, but we all have a basic tendency, and really embrace that. There's no need for comparative reality or, oh, I wish I was more like this or that. Really embrace who you are and learn to embrace other people's behavioral styles and really pick up on their strengths and celebrate those strengths. And if they have some challenges, like organization is something that Brad has been very patient and working with me through, you really work with them on whatever their challenges might be. And allow them to just kind of like flip those and use those also as their strengths for recognizing and working with other people. So don't get discouraged. If I remember in the beginning, I would be talking with someone and I was like, this is not getting through. Like, we are speaking totally different languages. And now that happens far less often because I can understand, oh, they're an S. They have a friend tendency. They really want to make a difference in someone's lives. And I'm asking them to set goals. That doesn't make sense to them. So how about how many people would you like to help? How many lives would you like to change this month? What would you do if you could help 5 more people between now and the end of the month? Would that be amazing? And then you're speaking their language and you can actually see them kind of blossom in that. So Brad, this is an awesome topic and it will just fall perfectly in the things that are coming in the next few weeks as we're just really working with people and learning how to mirror and embrace who they are.
Awesome. Thanks, Dawn. Thanks for the breakdown. And actually, I love that you put that in there because it really doesn't matter who you are. The whole point of understanding behavioral styles is so one, we can understand our best tendencies so we can accentuate them. We can identify what maybe our shortfalls might be so we can work on those. And then we can identify who's around us and what we're working on. So it's basically adding an accelerator to all of your friendships and all of your business relationships. And the one thing, what I'll probably wrap up here with is, most people aren't aware of what their behavioral style is. This is a learned trait. So as we start to understand this more, most people that you interact with don't understand this whole concept. They just are who they are. So it's not like you would go around and say, oh, you're a D to somebody. It just allows you to say, well, this is me. This is myself. This is how I like to communicate. I'm either a task-oriented or a people-oriented person. This is what's important to me. This is how I want to communicate. And then you can start to address the people around you and identify what's important to them. So like you can understand, I like to always use green light versus red light thinking. It's something you probably heard Ashley and I talk on before, which is green light thinking is always assuming the best of a situation. Like if I'm going to call someone, I'm going to say that person's excited to talk to me. I haven't talked to them in a long time. They're going to be so excited to communicate with me and just catch up, as opposed to being like, oh, I'm going to be bothering this person or that whatever the case may be. But when you understand this, it allows you to understand why people do things. We've all probably had clients that don't answer their phone and they're kind of short with us back, and we're like, why don't they want to talk about their health journey with me? I would love to do that. But it's because they're a D. They got the goods. They got the quick start guide. They're off getting healthy. They don't need any of that stuff. That book, they'll get to it later. They just want to lose pounds. They want to know how many pounds they can lose. They want to drop it now. They want to do it. And then you have S's, and you can understand why they call you, why they might struggle, because they're so busy caring about other people and they don't want to offend them because their love language probably translated to food in some course of their life, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have people like Lem that freaks out when he goes on vacation and doesn't have a scale to weigh his food. So it's just a beautiful thing to help understand people better. And as you can kind of go through, you can just start to pick up what's going to best move them forward. So don't be afraid to act. Action's always the most important thing. But as you start to communicate and act around more people, you're going to understand what's going to click so you guys can be on the same level. As opposed to being off just a little bit on your communication, you're going to meet eye to eye and understand things. So with that, hope you guys, this will be a really fun week for all of you guys, because you just kind of probably learned a lot about yourself. You're going to start to identify and practice this. And if you have any questions that come up, reach out to your support team or myself. I love talking disc about people because it's fun to learn what helps people move forward and communicate better in life. So with that being said, hope you enjoy finding out a little bit about yourself and finding out what helps move other people forward. So that's this week's Wednesday night training. And I'm actually going to take it off record real quick.